Good day, viewers. Welcome back to the Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Back again. Took a little time off for the holidays. Had a great time. Rested up and ready to go. One of my favorite signs I use for activism on the weekends, along with the secular humanism signs and so forth. This one gets a lot of attention. The other day had, of course, as usual, a fundamentalist Christian come up and try to tell me why we need Christianity in our government and so forth. So I want to talk about keep secularism out of my church. Now, what am I saying here? I'm going to talk about a good guy from back in the 1600s. His name was Roger Williams. And believe it or not, he did support church and state separation. Roger Williams was born back in the 1600s. This is 100 years prior to Thomas Jefferson, the Jeffersonian Wall. He, Roger Williams, was a Puritan preacher. Keep that in mind. A very strong fundamentalist Christian. He helped found the Rhode Island colony. He was one of the first abolitionists. He was one of the good guys. He advocated for religious freedom. He also was a large advocate for church and state separation, which we will get into here in a moment. And also the fairness to Indians. Not all these Puritans and Quakers and those that came over from Europe agreed with him. He understood the concept of keeping church and state separate. Now, let me just tell you briefly about this guy, because he reminds me of myself somewhat about 30 to 40 years ago. He loved Jesus. I mean, we're talking about a hardcore Christian. He walked and talked with the Lord, read his Bible. In fact, he was so pure and holy, he did not even allow his wife to pray with him. Now, that was a little further than what I did back in the 70s and 80s. I let my wife pray with me. But he was so pure and close to God, he wouldn't allow that. And he did convert the Indians back in the 1600s to Christianity as a Puritan preacher. Didn't want to kill them like some of the other people did. He was a good guy. He was wrong in his beliefs, obviously, but he was one of the good guys. But he was so close to God, such a strong Christian, he did not even allow the Indians into his church after he converted them to Christianity. He had them go to their own private little churches. That's how close he was to his walk with his God. A strong Christian. Keep that in mind. That's how close he was to God. Now, this particular guy was so close to God, but yet he stood up for secularism over here and church over here. Now, not long ago, I listened to a Christian radio show. I don't do this often. And I heard a conservative Christian, former Christian preacher, on a talk show out of Houston, talking about the importance for believers to be advocates for church separation of church and state. I was blown away. I wish I could meet this guy. I'd give him a big hug. He understands the benefit of this for believers as well as unbelievers. He wanted it to be a non-coercive belief system. He encourages people on this radio show as believers, hey, we don't want to force people. We want it to be organic. We want to convince people they need Jesus, right? Well, good luck with that for those of us that have been there, right? We're above and beyond that. Now, Roger Williams was the first person, and this is 100 years before Thomas Jefferson, the Jeffersonian Wall. The first person that talked about a literal hedge, a row of bushes or trees is what he talked about, to separate the secular world from his church. He said, hey, I am so close to my God. I do not want this secularism into my holy church. I don't want it to pollute the gospel of Jesus Christ. He understood the importance of it. He understood the freedom of his religion. Now, our founding fathers, contrary to what our conservative Christian people would say, our founding fathers were smart people. They knew we did not want to replicate the same issues and problems here in this new land in America, what was occurring back across the pond in Europe. Their religions were killing each other, right? Protestantism against Catholicism and so forth. Jefferson, Adams, Madison, and so forth, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Paine, they all knew, hey, let's not duplicate this here. We don't want it. And it started to occur in the 1700s already. The Quakers, the Baptists, the Puritans all started to fight again. That's what the purpose was. Let's keep that stuff out. Interesting to know, here we have this guy, Roger Williams, an extremely strong conservative Christian who believed in that hedge, in that row of separation of church and state. Why do I talk about this? Because it benefits believers and it benefits we who are unbelievers. You can have your belief system. You can keep it in your church, in your head, and you have a right for free speech as well. But you can't force it upon others in our government. That's the concept of it. It benefits you. And we, and I, am not going to come and burn your church down. I'm not going to confiscate your guns. I don't know where these ideas come from. They're wrong. I hear it all the time from people when I'm outside with my signs on the weekends. Church and state separation benefits believers. It benefits unbelievers. So remember, share this with people. Let other people know. Not only was it Thomas Jefferson, our founding fathers, but prior to that, a hardcore man of God, a Christian Puritan preacher, established this. And he said, keep that stuff out of my church. I don't want it to change what I preach and what I believe. That is how it works, folks. That's reality. That's our Constitution, and it benefits everybody. All right, remember now to keep that light of secular humanism shining. Let other people know, and have a wonderful day.